Are you connecting all the dots on the journey to your inner wisdom? Are you looking for a fresh perspective on the messages you've been asking for?
So who doesn't want to be happier, healthier, wealthier, and wiser, and be able to make life's choices with confidence because they finally see the signs? We know you do.
I'm Angela Coulter.
And I'm Sarah Sieg Avignoni.
We're two conscious journeyers dedicated to turning over those rocks and helping you on your personal intuitive sleuthing mission of evolution in our multi-dimensional hologram.
And that includes Earth too.
Yes, it does. Welcome to Solving Me, our conscious puzzle-solving podcast, where we look at the natural relation between your life experiences and their meaning in the bigger picture, from the most mundane to the most overwhelming.
So what do we mean by all this? Well, have you ever thought that getting a flat tire and twisting your ankle could be related? And maybe a message about what's preventing you from getting that awesome, high-paying job you would love. Believe it or not, it's all connected.
Want to know more? Come on and let's get sleuthing. See what comes up in this episode, because it might just be about you. Welcome to episode 31. Today we have a spectrum of things to talk about, literally.
Love that.
And the topic is colors,
and it's going to be such a colorful conversation.
Absolutely. Well, there are so many people who literally have a whole career based on color psychology, color consciousness. I mean, I know somebody off the top of my head that's what they do. And there's so many things about the frequency of colors, because like colors are how we visually perceive certain frequencies.
Well, and it attempts to be a universal theme, but it's so personal. Mm-hmm. And everyone perceives color differently, because you even have those that are colorblind.
Yes. And what kind of message does that bring you? I don't want to see those spectrums at all.
Or I'm not worthy.
Yes.
Well, I don't allow that richness in my life.
That's saturation. And you know, as I do, when we go out there consciously to the non-physical, I mean, I've seen many colors that aren't here on the spectrum that I couldn't even describe to you.
Exactly. Yep.
And how we have evolved our eyes, like different animals see different colors, just like.
Right. Uh-huh.
And so we have different ways of perceiving these things. And I love the visual of the prism and how it splits up into these different, spectrums. So if you want to talk about the rainbow, right, it goes red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, purple, violet, whatever you want to call
it. Right.
And so as we go through that spectrum, we have associated that in consciousness with things that go from, the chakras, right? The 7 chakras and the associated colors with that. We associate different moods with colors because of how we physically react to, our bodies physically react to the vibration of certain colors.
Well, and where we feel certain emotions.
Yes. So when we get to talking about that, we go through a bunch of possibilities of what colors are showing you in a message.
Right.
And there are many. Go ahead.
There's so many ways that we could approach this. How are colors showing up for you? What are colors? What color is like in your face all of a sudden, unexpectedly, or that's always been my favorite color. I mean, the messages could be long-term, they could be short-term, they could be whispers, they could be hitting you over the head with the message. there's just so many different ways to look at it. And then there's your personal relationship to the colors, and then those around you, and then your beliefs about the colors. I mean, we could take this in so many different directions.
And what a perfect message to help punctuate something for us. Yeah, I have an example of, I had a client that I was exploring this with in terms of helping her see messages that she was getting. And her homework between 2 sessions was, okay, I want you to journal anything that seems to be interesting, or odd, or something that shows up consistently, and what you've been thinking about around those things. So she came back, and she had no experience doing any of this whatsoever. But I remember she came back to the next session and she was all kinds of excited. And she was like, I couldn't wait to get here and wanted to tell you about my experience. And she said 3 different times, and this was either a week or 2 weeks, I can't remember. But she said 3 different times, I looked up from someplace, and it was different place every time. And everything in my immediate line of sight was red. She said, like, I would see like somebody with a red shirt and there'd be a red car behind them or a red sign or whatever. She goes, one time I was on the soccer field watching my kids play soccer, and it wasn't like the color of the teams. It was looking off, and it was like all in that line of sight. She goes, once I was sitting at a light, and I can't remember what the third time was. And she goes, and it was like the third time I was like, wow, this is sort of weird because this has happened 3 times now.
Right. And all because she was paying attention.
Exactly. And I said, so to me, right away, what hits me is, what's the red flag? Like, so what were you thinking about when those colors popped up? And she was like, oh, I see what you mean. So and then she had to do some configuring. But see, we're not trained to think that way.
No, not at all. And the other thing is, we sometimes aren't consciously aware of the beliefs surrounding colors as we're observing them.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes the message even more hidden, because we automatically don't think of, well, red always to me is caution, or always is anger, or always is, a negative connotation, versus red as new beginnings of like a sunrise.
Or a heart, or love.
Exactly. I mean, those are dramatically opposing emotions, if you will. And again, that's where it gets very personal.
Exactly. Yeah, and yet to know the basics of what is generally accepted for different colors is just good to know.
Right.
As well as in consciousness, like, it's good to know the root chakras associated typically with red or black, the sacral chakras typically associated with orange, the solar plexus is yellow or gold, the heart is typically green or red too. Like, that can be, like, again, go back to the love, depending on the individual, and then
right.
the throat is blue.
Blue. Yeah.
Yep. And the third eye is indigo, and the crown is violet. So if you have that general sense, so I'm going to tell you a story about that too, is my daughter, when she was in high school, she had repressed something so deep. It was hilarious for almost the whole school year. And she wouldn't speak up about it. So think about that. She wouldn't speak up. So
that's a clue right there.
Right. So and I kept on, and she got laryngitis. Okay, that's another episode entirely. But I remember I had been joking with her, but saying, well, you're not using your voice. You're not, because she'd get laryngitis. She'd do this, do that. But anyway, one time we're sitting in the car, and this is after I don't know how many conversations about the same thing. And she said, I had this weird dream, Mom, about you and I were in this crystal store, and all the crystals were blue. And she goes, it was so weird. They were all blue. And I started laughing, and I said, do you know what blue is? It's the throat chakra, which means you're not speaking your truth. And she just rolled her eyes at me, but she did laugh at that. But that's the kind of association, like, you can know that, but that doesn't mean it's a rule either.
Right, a guideline. See if it resonates with, see if it holds true for you. See if it's a truth you hold. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And and blue also, though, if you take it out of that, can be about calmness, peace. It depends on the context too, because the same color can mean different things in different contexts, especially for different people, like you're saying.
Right.
And so I counsel people who are learning how to do intuitive work all the time about that, and not telling others what they see and translating it, because if I see red and it means love to me, but it means anger to you, and I'm helping you, and I go, well, this is all about love, but yet you're really angry about a situation, you're going to go, what are you talking about?
Right. 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 It's an opportunity to speak your truth.
Exactly. And so, okay, so what does red mean to you? Like, you might associate a certain color with a person or a
Right.
situation or something that triggers you or triggered you at some point.
I mean, there's just so many, there's so many different things. And I mean, even with, you consider, wealth. A lot of people associate that with the green, with money, and or royalty, purple. I mean, the list just goes on, and so many things. Even in organized religion, the blue is for the Virgin Mary, and there's just so many references to colors, and then you sprinkle that in with what you personally experience, and the messages are just, they're everywhere.
Yes. And the funnier part is talking about relativity is, back when I was in corporate marketing, I had to know all the psychology of colors and all that kind of stuff, right? So, and believe it or not, most people don't realize that storefronts are done or stores are done in certain colors for certain purposes.
Absolutely.
And you use different colors on your branding for different impression. And the thing that we had to always pay attention to, I always had to pay attention to the culture where the brand was going to be, because different cultures have different meanings for the same color.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, where in the United States, yellow is a very positive, upbeat, sunshiny color. In Asia, it's not quite the case.
Not what you want to use.
No, and what, we wear black to funerals, and in Asia they wear white, and it's just different perceptions of the same spectrum.
Well, and start adding in not just the religious or social, add in the political and the new social, like rainbow. And it's like, okay, it meant all inclusive, everyone's included, and boy did, we're in a place where that's not a good thing to some people.
To some people.
So right, so it's so much as fluid around the whole thing, but again, it's what's showing up for you, and how are you perceiving it, what are you reacting to, and like you said with your example, is what were you thinking about when you saw that, or when you experienced that, and that is a great way to start diving into, what's this message about, what was I thinking about, or what was I experiencing in the moment.
Right, because say in the situation where I was talking about that, it's like, well, to me, like right away I heard red flag. And so red flag would be, to me, almost stop, don't go over this line. This is the answer, or you're going in this direction, don't change this direction here, like keep going over this way. And that's where, but you have to be very present and conscious about what's going on in that moment to be able to navigate that. But it just takes practice. I mean, it's not scary, or it's like, oh, this color means, ominous or whatever. Like people think black is about, and it's like, no, it's just a different perception of a frequency. and how we attribute that frequency to emotion or something in our physicality. It's association.
Exactly. And that one of the best things that, in all this that we talk about is there is no wrong answer.
Mm-mm.
There's an answer, and you take action on that answer, or actually inaction, whichever one seemed to be appropriate. And then you go from there. And if you get another message, then you take action or inaction or whatever with that one. But come to a new awareness with it, just like you said, presence. And that can change so much just in that new awareness of a situation. And colors is a great place to start with that presence. Oh, that's a beautiful color. How does that make me feel? What does that represent for me?
Yes. I do an entire meditation on the rainbow steps, and that helps get us into a different state of mind, because we do have different frequencies that are associated with colors here in this set of dimensions that actually physically affect our bodies differently. And sometimes you might see the color violet as a message to calm down. Or blue is another one, but blue can mean a lot of other things too. Well, all of them can mean a lot of things, but blue can also mean calming down. They use blue as a calming color, as well as green as one for being calm and honest. Isn't that one they use in like interrogation rooms, is the green color? Things like that.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that we've put emphasis on as a society, like, oh, it's a baby boy. Is the nursery blue? Do you dress them in blue? And girls pink? And
well, funny that shows you how culturally that's a thing, because like early in the 1900s it was the opposite, where boys were pink and girls were blue. So
I mean,
funny how it changes. Yeah,
it really is. It really is. Yeah.
And so as we develop cultural norms and colors via so many different avenues, whether it's branding or however you want to see it, then that can change the way we perceive the colors to associate it with something else, to associate it with. So the question is, when you see a color in terms of what you're working with, it's going to be individualized to that situation, to say, well, so let me feel into the color to say, what does this say to me in this context? Because you might get the same color a day later in a completely different context, and it can mean something completely different. But it's all about seeing the message, getting the message, and asking about what that means to you.
Absolutely.
So explore the spectrum, explore the rainbow.
Right. And tell us your experience. We love to hear. We love feedback.
Yes. We love hearing everybody's individual stories on what they go through in this. So let us know. Thanks for listening to us on Solving Me. If you found this podcast helpful, make sure to subscribe so you get notice every time we post a new episode.
And for a short time, we have a special bonus for you. Go to solvingme.net to download your free ebook, which outlines the next level of conscious solutions for your inner investigation.
Be sure to help us spread the word. Share us with others you know who want to solve the puzzles of their everyday life through the filter of expanded consciousness, and have fun doing it.
One more thing. Do you have some puzzling life circumstances where you feel blocked and you'd like our take on what's going on? Send us your conscious puzzle at connect@solvingme.net, and maybe you'll be the topic of a future episode.
Until next time, happy sleuthing.